And at that point in time, was a decision made to stop life support?
Yes, it was.
And that's done in consultation with the family, his father, correct?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And was life support ended for Callan Clancy on January 27th, 2023?
It was, and one of the things is there's when you determine that someone has met criteria for neurologic brain death, that although we know that their brain is not functioning at that point, there's often a period of time where we don't have to his heart is still beating, so we don't have to remove the endotracheal tube at that time, and we often will give families, once it's been confirmed that the brain is no longer functioning, we often give families a period of time to able to process it, and a window of time. Sometimes there's relatives who will need to travel and things like that, and so we'll often then choose a time later on to accommodate the rest of life, knowing that they're stable at the time, to when we would actually remove the tube, and that would be the declaration of death.
And was that done in this case? Family was given an opportunity to see him, and then life support was ended, and then his heart stopped?
Yes, that's exactly.
He was declared deceased?
Yes.
Thank you.
Attorney Reddington? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Your Honor, at this time, the Commonwealth would move to admit the Boston Children's Hospital records for Callan Clancy into evidence. There's 2 volumes.
Objection.
Your Honor, I have no objection because we both have the records. We both want them in evidence, so I have no objection to any of the records that they have. We signed releases for them, for like Beth Israel, Brigham and Women's, South Shore. They all can go in.
That's a yes.
It may be admitted.
And determine capacity, and my role is as the ICU nurse is advocacy on behalf of the patient and to alert the providers if there's any changes in the mental status.
Now, when they came in and you said advocate for their position, you're aware that the patient was looking to change her healthcare proxy, correct?
The patient was changing her healthcare proxy. That is correct.
And that there has to be an evaluation to determine whether she's of a particular mental status and medically able to make that decision on her own. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall who was present other than yourself and the psych doctors, the doctors from the psychiatric unit?
There was the social worker, myself, and her lawyer was present.
Had you been present when a lawyer or somebody else was with her prior to this consult?
No.
And fair to say, you were made aware very early on that there was a particular group of people that would be having access to this individual, correct?
Can you clarify?
Well, is it fair to say that the treatment team was kept small on purpose? Meaning the same people were coming in and being the nurse, day and night staff. There was limited access. Is that fair to say?
It was kept to a smaller team, but that was also protection of privacy for the patient.
And during the course of time when she's on the ICU, which is between the 24th to February 3rd, there's always law enforcement posted outside the room, correct?
Yes, and it was because she was...
Well, I'm just asking you if there were law enforcement.
There was.
Okay. Do you recall having to check with the nursing director and the legal team at the hospital to make sure that it was permissible to allow anyone in besides medical staff?
Yes, that's standard protocol.
Okay. And when she was transferred off of the your unit on February 3rd, did you have any further contact with her?
I did not.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right. Attorney Reddington.
Afternoon, I think. Yeah. How many years you been a nurse?
11.
And you obviously take that position as very serious, and your concern is to protect your patient. Is that right?
That is.
You made reference to the fact that she was changing her documents as far as healthcare proxy.
Yes.
Did you know anything? Did you know who she was changing it from, her husband to her mother and father, or did you know anything about the specifics?
She was changing it from Patrick to her parents.
Thank you. And finally, what is a DNR?
DNR means do not resuscitate.
Do you know what her DNR was?
Her code status was full at the time that I took care of her.
Do you recall that she had indicated repeatedly that she wanted a DNR, that she did not want to be resuscitated if emergency arose?
I was not privy to that knowledge.
Okay, but that's noted in the medical record. It would be noted in the records, right?
It would be, yes.
Thank you very much.
And in fact, you noted in the medical records that the hallucinations were part of an issue with oxygen.
It could be. That could be one of the reasons. Delirium is usually due to a variety of different medical reasons, and oxygen desaturation could be one of them. She had also just recently had anesthesia related to a surgery that she had on her spine, so that could be another reason. And then her heart rate was also actually quite elevated, so that could be another reason.
Is it common for patients who are just coming off of anesthesia from surgery, who have an issue with oxygen and other medical issues that you described, to have visual hallucinations?
They can. It's not that everybody does, but they can. And delirium can be quite common after surgery, and particularly anesthesia.
And those hallucinations that she was having, those were resolved by the next day. They were over by the next day, correct?
That's correct.
And her choice to change her healthcare proxy to her parents was consistent the following day, correct?
That's right.
You also talked about the patient has to understand the risks and benefits of the decision, correct?
That's correct.
How do you make sure the patient understands that?
Yeah, so one of the things we do is really ask patients to take us through their thought process of why they're making that decision and what led to them making that decision at that moment in time. So we're able to kind of see their thought process and ensure that they're understanding, what it means to remove one person and add another.
And what was Ms. Clancy's thought process in explaining that to you?
Yeah, she was saying that her parents are quite supportive to her, and that she was thinking that she would have to change her healthcare proxy from her husband to somebody else. And we didn't necessarily go into the reasons as to, why she would have to change it, but she explained that she was very close with her parents. They would see each other frequently, given that they lived in close geographic proximity, and that she felt that they were very supportive to her and would have her best interests in mind should we need to invoke the healthcare proxy, or that if she couldn't make her own medical decisions.
So was there a concern on her part that her husband wouldn't have her best interests in mind at that point in time?
Sustained.
You also talked about the patient. You have to make sure the patient's thinking about the information rationally. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so one of the things we do is really ensure that the patient understands the situation and all of the kind of parts around it. So this comes into play much more when it's about a specific medical intervention, like an invasive medical procedure or something like an amputation or a surgery. With a healthcare proxy, one of the things you want to make sure is that the person that they want to change their healthcare proxy to or appoint as their healthcare proxy makes sense in the context of their life. Ms. Clancy was able to talk about how her parents were quite involved in her life. And so that's one of the things that we would assess.
Okay. And then the last thing was making sure the patient understands the risk if the change doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. Did you go over that with Ms. Clancy, and how did you do that?
Yeah, I did go over that with her. We talked a little bit about how it could mean that she would not have a healthcare proxy were she not to appoint her parents. And so we went through that, it's always, in healthcare, we always,
and anything else of that nature?
yes.
Thank you.
Attorney Reddington.
Afternoon. So, Doctor, from your testimony, and correct me if I'm wrong, was she, to your opinion and your experience, an honest patient telling you what her symptoms were, if any?
Objection.
That's an evaluation in the psychiatric.
I'll allow that question.
Yes.
In other words, she didn't go off and try to exaggerate to you and say, I'm seeing visions and I'm hearing voices and I'm suicidally ideated and I'm homicidally ideated. She didn't say any of those things to you, did she?
No.
She actually denied them, right?
Correct.
So this is not, in your opinion, someone who was trying to exaggerate her conditions for some legal reason, correct?
No.
And you obviously were in close contact with her for about a month, right?
That's right.
Just a couple of questions. Counsel asked you whether or not, and I think it may have been in the beginning in January, that you had difficulty understanding her. Obviously, after removing the tubes and everything else, you're able to talk with her, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that one of the concerns, if you will, was postpartum issues. You knew that, right?
Yes.
And in your experience as a psychiatrist, you're familiar with the concept of postpartum psychosis, correct?
Yes.
And you know that people can communicate and plan and act on plans, even if they're in the middle of a psychosis, right?
Yes.
You don't have to be drooling and stumbling and unable to walk and talk to be in a psychosis, do you?
No.
So in other words, a person can be in a psychosis and can communicate to friends, family, people, talk, correct? So you didn't, as counsel asked, you didn't have any difficulty understanding her. She wasn't slurring her words or anything like that when she was able to talk.